Today at RockRabbit Guitars, we're going to be installing this Bigsby trim on this Epiphone ES339. You see I've already got the tailpiece studs out of the way, which will later be filled as we'll be painting this thing actually a bayberry green with a nitro finish with these little clear top hat knobs, which is going to look really awesome. But first, before we get into that procedure, I wanted to drill and mount up the Bigsby and get everything centered and knowing exactly where things go. So let's start this process. Bigsby does give you some really handy red string in the package. And the first thing we want to do is find the center line of the guitar. Tie yourself a little loop. Grab a tuner, stretch it around, find the center of the nut, down the center through the bridge, like so, and then just eyeball this thing straight. The human eye is amazingly accurate for telling straight lines. And what you'll notice is that this factory hole for the strap button is just slightly off, which we are going to correct. Let me zoom you in and show you a better picture of what I am seeing now. Next, any type of low tack painter's tape. Put the tape on the back where the strap button hole is. Little fine marker, and actually mark the correct center line. Here's a better shot of the back showing the difference between where the hole for that strap button is from the factory, which was just placed in a just convenient spot wherever the guy was drilling at the moment, and the actual center line that I marked here of the guitar. I already have a suitable drill bit for marking the hole. This drill bit actually fits inside the hole of the Bigsby unit, like so. It's a nice fit, it spins, it's tight, it's stable. This is not the bit you're going to use to actually drill in the pilot hole. This is just the marking. What we're going to do next is to set your Bigsby on, line up the hole with the center, like so. Take your bit, not with a power tool, just with your fingers. Place it right in the hole where it sits, and you're going to spin it. And the tip of this drill bit is going to make a nice centered indentation. Give it a bit of pressure. Next, we need the proper size to drill the hole. We have the factory strap button with the screw, which we're going to use. Mark, don't know if you can focus that in well. And find the matching drill bit. I don't know if you can quite see it. Maybe I can zoom you in a little bit. But there is a nice little indentation just through the tape and probably just slightly touching the factory poly finish. I have to be careful with this factory finish. This poly is super hard and it does not scratch, but it also makes it very brittle. So if you're planning on keeping the finish, make sure you always use a nice sharp drill bit and always clean that off with a 45-degree chamfer bit just to keep it from breaking out on you later. So, and just go slowly, it's not a race. Then we want to go ahead and just install this one screw bit. Draw this one which will keep us centered on the guitar. There we go. Don't want it too tight, just keep it backed off just a smidgen so you have a little bit of movement play to adjust this and get the whole unit centered, which is what we're going to do next. So, next thing you're going to do is we're going to line this up using the red string that Bigsby gives with us. You could use a couple of E strings, that's true, but the red string is handy and it is very easy to see. All we're going to do is we're going to again put this on a tuner, put this in the low E nut slot, through the bridge slot. We're going to go underneath this first Bigsby roller. We'll go on top of this back roller with the little pegs on it, underneath, and then around the first peg on that low E peg. Through this, on the top part, we're going to stretch all the way down now to the high E, where the high E string would go, on top of the peg, and then just reverse back the other way. I'm going to take a couple of close-up pics and show you what it looks like when it's finished. It's not as hard as probably what I'm making it look like here. Maybe take you a couple of practices, get things lined up. You don't need it super tight. You don't need it tight like a string, but you just want to taunt so it's not going to move. Back to the E string slot here on the nut, give it a few wraps so it doesn't go anywhere, and there you go. Just don't forget to line this up where the string would go if it was installed. Line up with the pegs in the back, line up on the bridge, and on the nut. And again, using your best tool, which is lining up on your sights, you're going to straighten up this bridge where the strings, your red strings, look pretty straight. It's never going to be exact. Every guitar is a little different. And the spacing on this particular Bigsby peg, the pegs that I'm using where the strings wrap around, is actually in the same distance apart as on the bridge. So what you're going to see here is that this starts smaller up here at the nut. It's going to taper bigger and bigger. I'm exaggerating. It's going to taper bigger and bigger up to the bridge, and then it's going to go sort of straight. So it's never going to be a straight line, exactly, the string, but you're going to make it sort of in a happy middle position. And it's actually right about here. Then what we're going to do is get out that drill bit that we had before that fits perfectly within this, and we're going to make a little tiny mark in the finish. Again, if you're not refinishing your guitar, make sure you throw a little tape on. In this case, though, I'm just going to spin it very carefully without moving, just enough to make a little divot in this poly. This poly is quite hard, so it takes a little bit of finger pressure. You do not want to use a drill. God forbid you slip or just drill too far, and then you will wish you hadn't. All right, we're back. Rejigged the camera. Hopefully you can see a little clearer. Let me point out a couple things to you. First, make sure you use the right screws. The screws for the top are slightly larger, a little fatter, just a little bit longer than the other screws provide. Get out the drill bit that you've measured and is correct. And as you can see, I've already put a little bit of that masking tape back, that low tack painter's tape, at the depth that matches the screw, so I don't go crazy drilling too far through the top of the guitar. And if you can see, I hope I have the lighting well, right here and right here you can see the white little divot that I made in the poly finish. That's going to be the center line. Just be very, very careful. Work very slowly. Make sure you get your screw right in the center. You're drilling vertically through the carved top. Then when I flip the Bigsby back over, we've got a nice lineup. Couple of screws. If you are not refinishing your whole guitar, at this point, what I would recommend is to take something like this. This is just a 45-degree low chamfer bit for my router, which works great. Set it in here using just finger pressure and just very carefully clean up these edges. Probably doing a little more than I'm doing here, actually, to save your finish. But with the brittleness of this poly, it's really hard not to get it cracked at all. Screw started. Snug them up. You're not putting the lug nuts on your monster truck here. You are just snugging up the screws so it's solid and it's not going to move. You're not putting a big wrench, you're not putting excessive force. It's just going into wood, and it's snug, and it's solid, and they're straight. And that is as far as we are going to take it on this, because the next step on this particular guitar is it's going to get all the hardware stripped, it's going to get sanded, and then into the spray booth. So, thanks for watching. RockRabbit Guitars. Out.